everyone, and welcome to the show. We like to call it Pancrase, Legends of Mixed Martial Arts. I'm your host, Rob Wu, and sitting alongside me is our expert analyst, our fight insider, Josh Barnett.
Well, you don't get to be the king for nothing.
Amen to that. All right, our first fight, Yoshiki Takahashi and Osami Shibuya. Now, Takahashi is coming off a serious leg injury.
Yeah, he broke his leg, getting a left leg low kick checked by Bas Rutten. Kind of a fluke injury, but his leg being broken in two, no fluke in that.
And I think Bas Rutten, with the nickname El Guapo, he doesn't want anyone else being Guapo. He's busting up people's faces, breaking their legs.
Well, that just kind of comes with the territory when someone is as explosive and dynamic as Bas Rutten. He's just incredibly dangerous, not to mention he's acquiring submission knowledge this entire time. He's training at the Pancrase dojo. He's having these Pancrase fights. He's only becoming more dangerous as this company, Pancrase, goes on.
All right, we'll get to Bas Rutten later, but for now, it's Osami Shibuya versus Yoshiki Takahashi. And we see Yoshiki Takahashi backstage prepping himself, trying to get himself fired up. He might need to. He's been out of the ring for a very long time.
And coming off an injury like that, and Bas coming over, checking on him, discussing the injury, certainly they weren't hoping anybody would get hurt.
And this is actually what happened. His leg right there broke, forcing him to go to the hospital, and he missed over a year of action. What we're seeing was back in May 31st of 1994.
Osami Shibuya versus Yoshiki Takahashi.
As this fight starts, Shibuya looks like he's testing that leg of Takahashi right away, sending some leg kicks down there.
Yeah, and you really can't fault him with that. If Takahashi's got a disadvantage with one of his legs, why not go for it? Why not force him to the area where he's going to have difficulty already? Takahashi looking for the single leg, and he gets it. But after a few shotes on the feet.
The fighter is near the ropes, and Takahashi slapping Shibuya on the ground. I guess it is legal, but I thought there was an understanding among fighters not to do that.
Well, Takahashi is sort of exempt from that rule. He's a little too hot-headed to stop from to not hit somebody when the opportunity presents itself. And here he is working the headlock and looking to isolate the arm and go for the submission here. Although it is pretty close to the ropes, so unlikely that he'd be able to submit Shibuya, I think, from right here.
And Takahashi, even though we said he's been out for about a year and a half, not looking too rusty thus far.
No, working the neck crank right there, and even if he doesn't get the submission, he's taking a lot of the wind out of Shibuya by collapsing his rib cage and his diaphragm like that, making it hard for him to breathe.
And Takahashi looking very solid at the start. I don't think he's favoring that leg at all, and that's very important in the fight, not to worry about your leg and just go at it as hard as you can.
Sure, and with this position here, he's just riding Shibuya. He's wearing him out, wearing him down, making his neck tired, and eventually, in proximity to the ropes and maybe considered a stalemate, they start him back on the feet.
Now, Josh, have there been situations when you think a fighter's about to get a hold of the other, but the ref breaks it?
Well, it's just something they're going to have to keep in mind. They got to be aware of where they're at in the ring at all times. So, if the fight gets stopped because they're too close to the ropes, then that fighter that is securing the hold needs to be aware of it. Just like we saw in an earlier match with Fukay dragging Scott Bizak to the center of the ring before applying the heel hold.
And Takahashi had the top position, but now Shibuya, a nice little reverse. He's now on top.
Right, working the mount position, and Takahashi keeping his arms in tight, and Shibuya looking, using
and he is just
slaps of his own.
He's silly. He looks like he's giving him a little taste of his own medicine.
Perhaps he.
He is just unleashing. I guess.
I guess he saw a taste inside his mouth and decided he needed to be knocked out.
I guess if Takahashi can do it, so can he.
Same. I agree. Whatever's good for the goose is good for the gander.
And Takahashi looks very active now. He's once again on top. He doesn't look like he's lost too much of a step since his injury.
No, and he's certainly the better wrestler of the two with his university wrestling experience. Former captain of his university wrestling team coming into play when he limp-armed out of that whizzer on the feet, that overhook from Shibuya, landing himself in the top position, going back to the headlock, and again probably trying to wear Shibuya out. Maybe look for the neck lock and the neck crank, or to secure that arm between his legs for the shoulder lock or the straight arm lock.
And Shibuya, the ref will break them apart. Looks like he caught a break. He looked like he was in a little bit of trouble there.
Well, certainly he wasn't getting a rest, I'll tell you that.
Both fighters restart. And exchanging palm strikes, and once again Shibuya going for the takedown. Nice sprawl by Takahashi, not allowing that.
A nice uppercut follow through by Takahashi while he's got Shibuya down there.
And Shibuya seems to be a little short on his takedowns. Is he shooting from too far away, Josh?
Well, he doesn't really have quite the setup to draw Takahashi in to get a clean shot on him. And Takahashi going with the Olympic roll there, putting Shibuya on his back. Not an often seen move in the MMA world, more of a freestyle move, but finding success with it was Takahashi.
Takahashi on the top has a mount on Shibuya. Shibuya puts him in the full guard.
But Takahashi looks like he might be working for the Achilles lock right here. Looking for almost a half crab, and Shibuya trying to respond by catching a leg of his own. I think Takahashi is fighting a very smart fight in the fact that he continues to put Shibuya in a lot of predicaments to wear him down. He seems to be working his neck a lot, and I don't know if that's because he feels that catching the choke may be the way to winning this fight, but he's been very successful here trying to transition into the side choke.
And it looks like he's very close to getting that side choke, Josh.
It looks very tight right here. Shibuya is in a lot of danger if he doesn't get to the ropes.
And he taps out. He does not reach the ropes. Osami Shibuya loses. Yoshiki Takahashi wins in his very first fight back into the rings of Pancrase. He's got to feel real good. First fight in over a year. And he's won.
Yeah, that's a good way to come back.
I'm not sure I saw any ring rust.
Well, it's really hard to say. You know, he did have a nice fight in the way of Shibuya, somebody working their way up the ranks, whereas Takahashi is a seasoned veteran. But at the same time, I think we could see that Shibuya had a lot of potential even from that match, and that it was no easy road about Takahashi to get that win. And the biggest thing is his recovery. I don't think we had to see the full potential of Takahashi right here today. So we'll see how this injury affects him, and that time being out of the ring when he goes up against some of the other guys at the top of the list like Suzuki, Funaki, Rutan, or Shamrock.
And I think we're going to see him improve as he keeps getting back from his rehab. All right, our next match will be Larry Papadopoulos against Katsuomi Inagaki. Don't go away. Welcome back to Pancrase, Legends of Mixed Martial Arts, and now we're going to see Larry Papadopoulos against Katsuomi Inagaki. And Josh, you were just telling me Papadopoulos, one of the first practitioners of jiu-jitsu in Pancrase.
Yeah, Papadopoulos had trained under John Will in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in Australia, who I believe is a Machado affiliate, and one of the earlier guys to bring the art of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as a background into Pancrase.
All right, and we'll see how that jiu-jitsu serves him in this upcoming fight.
Katsuomi Inagaki versus Larry Papadopoulos.
And both fighters right in the ring, and a very quick start. Both of them coming out swinging, Josh.
Yeah, both of them very aggressive with the strikes, not taking their time at all. Papadopoulos lands a nice solid knee to the midsection.
Another solid knee.
Papadopoulos doesn't seem to really be deterred by the size advantage in Inagaki.
Both fighters still in the clinch.
Nice low kick on the way out by Inagaki.
And another exchange of palm strikes. And again, in this fight so far, both fighters being very active.
Yeah, neither fighter has really attempted to bring this fight to the ground yet.
And who of the two fighters would want this fight on the ground?
You know, honestly, I think either one of them would want. Well, as you see, that is a sort of a technique of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to pull guard to bring their opponent onto the mat. Something that you wouldn't see from any other of the Pancrase fighters, and actually kind of dangerous within the realm of mixed martial arts. But Papadopoulos here eventually working to the back later on in the match.
And we're moving a little bit ahead in the fight.
A triangle choke attempt by Papadopoulos on Inagaki. Inagaki's got to be careful. He's got to get his head out of there. He's got to get his posture up and protect his arm. Otherwise, he's in danger of getting submitted.
Fortunate enough, the rope was right next to him, so he managed to escape. It'll cost him a point, but he's still in the fight.
Well, it's got to be a confidence boost for Papadopoulos, but he eats a right palm strike on the feet before getting the single leg takedown.
And that single leg takedown maybe came a second too late. That was a very strong strike by Inagaki on the nose of Papadopoulos, and I think he might be bleeding, Josh.
Well, he certainly took one straight on there from Inagaki, and Inagaki was even working his own triangle attempt on his own. And
I think they're going to get the doctors to look at Papadopoulos.
Well, Larry doesn't look really. He looks like he's a bit injured, maybe dazed.
Oh, he's definitely bleeding. What kind of damage can those shotes do?
Well, they can easily break a nose or cut an eye, or as we've seen before, knock opponents straight out, like when delivered by the hands of someone like Boss Rutan.
And it looks like Papadopoulos is going to continue this fight.
Well, I bet he's going to be a lot. Nice spin back kick by Papadopoulos, but he's really gun shy about getting hit in the face again.
And Inagaki throwing those knees. Now, if you're Inagaki, would you like to continue those palm strikes, pick on that cut?
Of course. So you try to get that distance, create the space, and maybe land another one of those strikes that broke his nose in the first place.
Inagaki with the hard takedown, perhaps smelling blood, literally.
Yeah, nice attempt at a backdrop suplex by Inagaki. Not quite as much elevation as he'd like. Now attacking the face, putting a face lock on Papadopoulos while he's on his back. Coming across the nose.
And that nose is already busted, so it hurts even more now.
Yeah, certainly going for a weakness when he sees it. Papadopoulos escaping, passing guard, and going for a rear naked choke while securing the back there. Maybe looking to look for the armbar here is Papadopoulos while he's got his control with the one-on-one with the right hand. And going back to the sleeper now is Papadopoulos.
And it looks like that sleeper hold is very close to being completed. The referee checking to make sure if Inagaki taps out, he can get Papadopoulos off of him quickly, and looks like saved by the bell by Inagaki. Not sure that it really mattered. Papadopoulos still victorious, bloodied and all. And as we take a look at the replay, there was the right palm strike. His head just whiplashed backwards. Guys.
Yeah, and it's really fortunate for Papadopoulos to have gotten that rope escape early on, as that was what allowed him to win the fight. Because I think if it would have went to the judge's decision, after eating a shot like that, might have had a lot of influence towards going Inagaki's side.
All right, in our next fight, we're going to see Yasuke Fukay versus Todd Medina. Now, Todd Medina does have ring experience, but it's in UFC. Josh, how much would that help him in a Pancrase fight?
Well, I think the UFC at the time was really more of a striker sort of oriented thing, and with the cage, the rhythm and the pace is going to be different. But being in the ring already, being in the cage, having that mixed martial arts experience is going to go a long way, even into transitioning to an event like Pancrase where the rules are quite a bit different. But without the ability to throw headbutts, elbows, and the punches to the face on the ground, his attacks are really going to be more grappling based. And while there was a lot of submissions in UFC, there was also a lot of ground and pound work as well.
All right, and we'll see how he does against Yasuke Fukay in his debut bout.
Yasuke Fukay versus Todd Medina.
And Medina, it's actually his third fight. Two of them have been in UFC. And Yasuke Fukay, a 9-9 record, so he already has 18 career fights in Pancrase. How will that experience serve him in this fight, Josh?
Well, certainly, I think Fukay's really got the overall experience with his pro wrestling background as well as the 18 fights in Pancrase. But he is giving up some size and probably some strength in against his opponent, Medina. But I'd like to see how the grappling game works out between the two of them.
But in terms of athletics, it seems like Fukay is the more athletic fighter. Judo player in high school, track and field also when he went to school.
Well, I think that what it comes down to is the match wears on. I think that stamina is really going to be in an advantage in Yusuke's for Yusuke in this match. I don't think Medina's got the gas tank to go a 30-minute match or a 20-minute match.
And Medina looking to end this fight quickly with the guillotine on Fukay, and Fukay would get out of that as we move forward in the match.
Medina here working from a half guard position, working for a top wrist lock. not in the best position to work for that technique, as he should be trying to secure the other arm, but Fukay avoiding that and giving up the back position to Medina.
And as we see Medina going for submissions here, just how good is this guy's ground game?
It's hard to say at this point, but certainly Medina is familiar with the game as he takes the back and looks for the sleeper choke there. He's no stranger to working on the mat, but I don't think it's significantly better than Fukay's at this point. So,
and Fukay doesn't seem to be doing too well in that position. He's trying to get out of it, and he finally does. I don't know how much longer he could have held up, and now he grabs Medina's ankle. What is he trying to do with Medina's ankle?
He's working for a toe hold from inside the rear hooks there, and now he's managed to spin inside onto Medina and get inside his guard. I think the advantage where someone like Fukay is going to have against Medina in the grappling, as he locks up a front choke here as they transition to their feet, is that someone like Fukay is going to have a lot of advantage with techniques like heel hooks and leg locks and some of the more varied techniques that wouldn't really hit the UFC for years later.
So, and Medina going for the one-leg takedown as the fighter's near the ropes. They're going to have to get away from the ropes or else the ref just might break it.
Nice diving armbar attempt by Fukay. Still in position on the arm.
He looks like he might have it, Josh. And Medina taps out to the armbar. Yasuke Fukay, the smaller fighter, wins. Just goes to show you size doesn't always matter.
No, and Medina certainly, it seemed as if that he didn't feel he was in really that much danger and didn't even think about trying to catch the ropes, and maybe something of a drawback from his experience in UFC. There is no rope escapes at the time and to grab the cage to release a hold.
And as we come back to the studio, Yusuke Fukay looked like Medina was actually dictating that fight, but Fukay in an instant got that armbar, ended the fight quick.
Yeah, certainly Medina was using his size and his strength. I think that he was using a lot of positional control on Fukay and wasn't really interested in engaging into a battle of submission attempts. But in the end, it was Fukay's use of a dynamic movement like that jumping, rolling arm lock attempt that got him in position that was able to win the fight for him.
All right, and coming up next, we're going to see Ryushiya Nagasawa versus Jason DeLucia. Welcome back, and we're going to see Jason DeLucia in action versus Ryushiya Nagasawa. Now, Jason DeLucia, most of our fans haven't seen a lot of him yet. Explain to us a little bit, what is he all about?
Well, this is sort of another emergence of a UFC veteran finding their way to Pancrase. Now, DeLucia started off as a Kung Fu stylist, practicing 5 animal styles Kung Fu, eventually becoming one of the people to accept the Gracie $50,000 challenge and challenging Royce Gracie at their academy in Torrance. He would go on to lose that match and eventually train with the Gracies and then make his way into the Ultimate Fighting Championship, rematching with Gracie again where he got his arm broke, and from there meeting up with Ken Shamrock, joining the Lion's Den, and making his way here over to Pancrase where he would enjoy a very storied career and also develop a very interesting style of grappling, very loose, very dynamic, and very unexpected for a lot of people when he wrestled them.
All right, and let's check out Jason DeLucia versus Ryushiya Nagasawa.
Jason DeLucia versus Ryushiya Nagasawa.
Jason DeLucia is 5-7. That's his Pancrase record. And Josh, Ryushiya Nagasawa, having that right arm extended, he's not giving him a high five. That's actually his stance.
Yeah, I think he's trying to draw Jason into something. Jason, being a southpaw, will also happen to switch stances and use a lot of kicks that most of these competitors would not use. Just a very different striking background with DeLucia.
And DeLucia throwing the leg, but Nagasawa grabs a hold of that leg and takes DeLucia down.
Right, and although it's kind of hard to pinpoint DeLucia as one style, as calling him a grappler or a striker, he was a very well-rounded individual when it came to Pancrase. But his grappling style was just as unorthodox as his striking style, but it really seemed to work for him in the ring.
Now, DeLucia, kind of a strange character. I once read he's into the dark arts and actually tried to curse another fighter by putting his blood on a painting of that guy. Very strange, this DeLucia.
Yeah, I suppose so. Maybe him and Aleister Crowley have late-night tea sessions.
And back to the ring, DeLucia actually has lost 3 fights in a row coming into this one, but 2 of those fights against Suzuki and Rutten, so those 2 very understandable.
Right, and so far he's really been just owning the mat as far as grappling against Nagasawa here, as he's now going for a side choke attempt.
Nagasawa on the bottom. DeLucia has him in the mount. And Nagasawa, he is in the center of the ring, which does leave him somewhat vulnerable should DeLucia decide to put a submission hold on.
Yes, I agree. And DeLucia here has been very active, tweaking the neck. He had a clock head scissor attempt early on in this match, which is a very powerful technique. Luckily, Nagasawa, for Nagasawa anyways, it was lucky, was able to escape that technique, but he hasn't been able to mount any offense to this point.
And speaking of luck, as we see the ring center say lucky strike, how much does luck factor into a mixed martial arts match?
Well, luck has got to certainly play a role. I mean, sometimes things just happen to just play themselves out right for you, but luck is really mainly what you make of it in the ring. As DeLucia locks up a very tight triangle choke.
No luck needed there. Jason DeLucia with a triangle choke with the legs. Ryushiya Nagasawa taps out. Now, I know Nagasawa was in the boat club in high school. It looked like he was drowning all over the ring right there.
He could never, he didn't seem to be able to get any offense off against a very slick and unorthodox grappler and DeLucia. And DeLucia just really kept up the pace on Nagasawa and caught him after it got to the point that he just couldn't keep up with DeLucia anymore in defending.
And as we said before, DeLucia in the outside of the ring, kind of a puzzling character, but inside the ring, there's no doubt he's a very good fighter.
Regardless of how strange his interests may lie outside the ring, as you said, a very dynamic and very capable fighter.
And now we're going to go into Frank Shamrock versus Takafumi Ito. Should be a pretty good matchup. These 2 fighters very good both on the mat and standing on their feet.
Both rather inexperienced coming into this. Ito being one of the recruits into the Pancrase system in Japan, and Shamrock being another one of the people picked up by Bob Shamrock into his school for troubled youth. And being
you weren't there though, right?
No,
Josh?
not me. I wasn't there. But apparently, maybe if I was, I would have learned some of the techniques that have made Frank Shamrock so successful as he has.
If you were there, I would have recognized you. All right, let's go straight to the fight.
Takafumi Ito versus Frank Shamrock.
And Takafumi Ito comes into this match 7-1. He's now 35 years old and still active, so if you want to find out what Ito's doing now, he's still fighting.
Nice single leg pickup off the middle kick by Frank. Frank, nice bridge attempt while using the headlock, hoping to get a reversal out of that.
And Ito, we see him running around the ring trying to get out of that guillotine, but so far not too successful.
Yeah. Frank now giving up his back, bucking off, and getting to his feet. Just being a dynamic and quick learner is Frank Shamrock. This is some of the staples of his fighting style are really evident here, even in his early Pancrase matches.
Now, Frank Shamrock has a huge physical advantage, 25 pounds. How is Ito supposed to make up for that?
Through guts, determination, and technique.
Both fighters exchanging kicks. Shamrock looking probably to move in.
A little bit of a feeling out process between the 2 of them, both looking to land a good strike. Ito with another single leg takedown on Frank, but Frank staying on top and not content to just to lay on his back for Ito there.
Ito had the side control, being very active. I think he might be locked in another guillotine, Josh.
Yeah, Frank really working that neck on Ito and really keeping head control, which has allowed him to get right back to his feet and now make his attempt at attacking.
And Ito looks like one of the more acrobatic fighters we have here in Pancrase.
Yeah, nice rolling leg lock and now dropping into the double wrist lock, but maybe Frank's just a little too powerful for Ito to finish those techniques off so early in the match.
Shamrock has Ito in the rear mount, and he lets him go. And Shamrock trying to pump himself up, hitting himself in the face. I don't know if I would try that.
Well, if he's not going to do it, Ito will certainly respond in kind.
And Ito, nice move, strikes high but goes low, and finally a takedown that actually works.
Yeah, nice control point by Ito here. Hooking the arm of Frank Shamrock with his legs as Frank reached through. Now looking for the toe hold was Ito.
And Shamrock now going for the feet of Ito.
Controlling Ito from behind, getting the back position, working the arms, getting the wrist control. And I expect again that Frank's going to go back to securing the back and looking for the choke, as he seems to have found some success with it earlier.
And I think he's going for exactly that right now. What does Ito have to do to avoid that?
Well, he's got to keep continued control of his hands. He can't let that arm come across the neck like he did, and he's in a really dangerous spot right here. And Ito, realizing that, senses his proximity to the ropes. Smart move on Ito's part. So now he's able to continue to fight.
He will be deducted a point, but your goal is to stay in the fight. Ito trying the right palm strike of Frank Shamrock. Don't think it worked. Both fighters still filling each other out a little bit, Josh?
I just think that they've expired quite a bit of energy in that early, very fast pace that they started this match with, and now figuring that it's going to be fairly difficult to simply lock in a submission on one another, looking for a more methodical way of approaching the submission aspect, as Frank again secures the back of Ito, locks in the sleeper choke.
And that is it. Ito cannot hang on. Frank Shamrock wins in the first round, 225 via the sleeper hold. And Ito, great sportsman. That's one thing about Pancrase, Josh. There's always great sportsmanship after the match, no matter who wins.
Yeah, what a great match. I mean, even though there was a size disadvantage on the part of Ito, just a very smooth, slick match between the two of them. Both of them having a lot of great transitions and a lot of submission attempts, but in the end, Frank, still being new at the sport, really could show how his mind was really attuned to fighting. Picked up on the mistakes that Ito was making, went back to those mistakes, and won the match.
And Frank Shamrock definitely improving. Ito was 7-1, and Ito now suffers his second loss of his career. All right, when we come back, Maurice Smith and Manabu Yamada. It's going to be a kickboxing match, and I promise someone's going to get knocked out. Welcome back to Pancrase, Legends of Mixed Martial Arts. We're now going to see Maurice Smith and Manabu Yamada in action. It's a kickboxing match, Josh, and Maurice Smith is a world-class kickboxer. He's bigger, stronger. I think he's got all the advantages in this fight.
Yeah, one would question why someone, a mixed martial artist like Yamada, would go ahead and take a fight against who was widely considered the best kickboxer in the world at the time in Maurice Smith. But the Japanese, they just have a way of just putting themselves in the most difficult of situations, and the fact that they're willing to stand in front of opposition like Maurice Smith when the cards are stacked against them, just the fact that they would go in there and give it their all means a lot to the Japanese, and I think that's probably where Yamada is coming from with this.
And sometimes the underdog does win.
That's true.
So
anybody can get knocked out.
So let's see if Yamada can pull off the upset.
Maurice Smith versus Manabu Yamada.
This is all in Maurice Smith's favor, if you ask me. And Maurice Smith has been a training partner of mine before, and the guy kicks like a mule.
And we just saw there a right leg kick to Yamada, but Yamada not shy about throwing his punches, also coming in on the offensive.
Yeah, just taking tremendous punishment at the hands of Maurice Smith, but you got to give it to Yamada. He's still looking to land the big shot, but I think those low kicks have really opened Yamada's eyes to exactly what he got.
Yamada with that kick, his leg goes over the rope, perhaps swinging a little too wildly.
At 5'9", trying to kick a guy 6'2" in the head, you're going to have to reach, that's for sure.
Yamada looks to be in a little bit of trouble, but so far I'm impressed. He seems to be hanging on, at least right now. As the referee breaks it up, the fighters will restart. And Yamada keeps coming in and now wisely clinches to make sure Smith can't let off any blows.
Leading with the hook again is Yamada. Smith lining up that right kick again.
And both fighters again back in the clinch. Ref breaks it.
Yeah, Maurice is really trying to find his range with the shorter fighter, sticking a few punches and then really drop the hammer with the kick.
And we saw right there a right leg kick, and Yamada goes down for the first time, but he bounces up really quick. Looks like he's in pretty good shape to continue, but Smith trying to make sure he isn't. Combo punches to the face, but Yamada firing back as well.
Yeah, it looks like the ref can consider that a slip, but I can tell you what, Yamada's leg certainly knows the residual effects of it.
And those leg kicks from Maurice Smith will add up during the fight, and Smith, a straight right, staggers Yamada for a second. Yamada tries to fire back with a left leg kick. Overhand right, no good. And once again, Maurice Smith, a right leg kick, takes Yamada down.
And that's got to be slowing Yamada's assault up. And really, if he keeps taking those, not only is he in danger of not being able to get up the next time he goes down, but I bet you what, he's going to be looking more for the low kick than he would be expecting maybe a right hand or a left hook to find their mark home.
Another nice little right jab by Smith, and Smith coming in. Yamada trying to hang on, might not be doing too well, but he is hanging on. And Smith, another aggressive right leg kick. That will take its toll on Yamada. And right there, Maurice Smith, a right punch, takes Yamada down. Again, I think I'm losing count on how many times Yamada's going down, Josh.
Well, Maurice just waited for Yamada to throw the kick, and he decided to take the kick and land a combination of a left hook, right hand, and putting Yamada down.
Maurice Smith perhaps looking to finish the fight, trying to put Yamada in a corner and swinging. Yamada, a wild right, and the bell rings. That is the end of round one. And for Manabu Yamada, it couldn't come any sooner.
Yeah, it's really surprising he was even able to make it out of that round with the sort of punishment that Maurice was dealing to him.
And Maurice Smith currently is the coach of the Seattle Tiger Sharks in the IFL, as we see Yamada trying to get a little bit of rest in before round two, but a couple minutes isn't really going to help you recuperate from what Maurice Smith did to him.
Yeah, that damage to the leg is already done, and that's going to be there from the beginning of this, from that round. It's going to carry over, and if he takes too many more of those leg kicks, this fight's going to be over quick.
As round two begins, Maurice Smith still looking very sharp. I'm not even sure if he's sweating.
Well, he's certainly not too concerned with Yamada's attacks, and really seems to be sort of drawing him in and letting Yamada go ahead and spend that energy, and then looking for the openings that present themselves to land that killing blow.
And we see Yamada's reached this advantage. In order to try to even touch Smith, he has to shoot all the way in. And another right leg kick. Yamada loses his balance temporarily, still manages to stay on his feet. And another vicious right hand by Maurice Smith. He is just dropping bombs on Yamada now. And another left leg kick takes Yamada down. Josh, I think I'm watching a school bully take some kid's lunch money.
Yamada is just eating a barrage of punches and kicks. I mean, the guy, it's amazing he can even get up at this point.
Yamada showing tremendous heart, but at some point you got to realize your body just can't take it anymore.
Well, you know, you got to give some credit to Yamada for staying in there and continue to fight back hard, but he tells me he might be going to sleep sometime
Another
soon.
left leg kick and a right leg kick. Maurice Smith does not discriminate. Right, left, he'll throw it all.
Softening up the body was Maurice with those middle kicks. Coming back with a flurry of hands, another middle kick.
And another right, followed by a left. Maurice Smith just teeing off on Yamada like he's a golf ball.
Yeah, there's not going to be a single part of Yamada's body that's not going to feel like it's been hit by a sledgehammer after this fight's over.
And Maurice Smith in very good shape. Yamada coming in. I think he might just want to run around in the ring to try to avoid Smith. And Smith, another vicious right hand. Yamada, I'm not sure how, but he's managing to stay on his feet, and he goes down again. Look at the pain on his face, Josh. This is getting pathetic.
That right leg kick of Maurice has just been cutting Yamada down like a lumberjack this entire fight.
And Yamada showing tremendous heart, gets up, but the referee tells him that's enough. And Yamada goes down again. He is in noticeable pain. I think he's going to feel a little bit sore tomorrow, Josh.
Yeah, I'd certainly say so. Somebody get that guy an ice bath.
And Maurice Smith trying to make sure Yamada's okay. Great sportsmanship always shown here at Pancrase. And even though he just brutally beat him, wants to make sure his opponent's doing fine. And he looks to be limping a little bit, but both fighters acknowledging each other. And looks like Manabu Yamada's, he's not too seriously injured.
Yeah, he'll recover from this. He'll learn, and he'll be back to fight another day. But tonight, it was all Maurice Smith.
And as we bring it back into the studios, Maurice Smith, a dominating victory. But let's move on to Guy Mezger, one of the biggest names in mixed martial arts. I don't think we've seen him yet in Pancrase, but we're going to see him now fighting Masakatsu Funaki. Mezger is going to have his hands full.
Certainly. He's fighting who would be considered one of the aces of the company. And tough task indeed. And we'll see how he fares against such a strong opponent as Funaki. But knowing this, he's got Ken Shamrock in his corner, someone who already owns a victory over Funaki. Let's see if he can't take some of that experience from Ken and apply it in his match.
All right, will Wayne Shamrock's experience help Guy Mezger? Let's find out.
Masakatsu Funaki versus Guy Mezger.
Fight! As this fight starts, Mezger is actually 3-0, Josh, but the 3 wins against Jason Farah, John Dowdy, and John Renfro, not exactly a list of who's who in mixed martial arts.
No, but the at least the familiarity to being in the ring is gonna help him to keep from making very rookie mistakes or to let the situation intimidate him too much. But against a guy like Funaki, it's got to be a lot of pressure to go out there knowing that you're fighting one of the best in the business.
And both fighters on the ground with a hold of each other's leg. Does anyone have a distinct advantage right now, Josh?
Well, Funaki's got a killer Achilles lock on him right there.
And it looks like Mezger has to grab the rope again. He gets deducted another point.
I think that might have been the same leg that Funaki attacked earlier, which could come back to affect Mezger on the feet, as his leg has now been damaged and might not be nearly as mobile as he used to be. In fact, he seems to be favoring that right leg somehow.
Now, how long will a fighter be favoring that leg should he get the ankle hold on him?
Well, you know, I think this could really could last up to a couple weeks, depending on how much damage was done with that initial toe hold and that follow-up Achilles lock. So he's going to have to ice it and take care of it. But for this match, he's certainly going to have some trouble as Funaki again enters into the leg off of Osotogari, into the Achilles lock on the same leg, in fact.
And he looks like he might have that lock, and he does. Guy Mezger taps out. Now, Guy Mezger previously undefeated 3-0, but sometimes being undefeated means you haven't fought Masakatsu Funaki. Welcome back. We're getting ready to watch Bas Rutten versus Minoru Suzuki, 2 heavyweights in Pancrase, Josh.
Yeah, another matchup between 2 of the top fighters within Pancrase here, with Suzuki taking on Rutten. Rutten previously taking on Funaki on our earlier show, so Rutten certainly not getting the easy fights out of the picks from the different choices out there.
And Rutten did fight Suzuki once before. Rutten came out on top. We'll see if Suzuki can avenge that loss.
Bas Rutten versus Minoru Suzuki.
As we see the R's of Bas Rutten, which he writes on his own hand to remind himself to relax, Josh. And Rutten also has asthma, so you might think relaxing is going to be very key for him. If he expends all his energy early in the fight, then later on, in the later minutes of the round, he could be struggling.
The last place I think one would want to have an asthma attack would be in the ring when someone's trying to break your leg or knock you out.
Especially when you're in the ring with Minoru Suzuki. Bas Rutten 11-4 coming into the match. Jumps into the ring and nice little robe he has on. Did you get one of those when you were in Pancrase, Josh?
I did not, but...
You're kidding. You're the king of Pancrase. They couldn't get you a robe?
I'll have to make that request next time I happen to show up over there.
Can I get one too?
We'll see. We'll see. We'll see if we can get you a white one like Suzuki's.
I don't think they make them in my size, though.
We'll just fill it up with towels.
We could do that. As both fighters get ready for the fight, the crowd must be very excited. Rutten and Suzuki, two of the biggest names in Pancrase. Now, an interesting tidbit on Minoru Suzuki, he loves eating everything except marshmallows.
I don't think marshmallows are very high on the dietary list of things that are going to help you be in your best of physical condition either. So maybe that's actually in his own favor.
And both fighters appear to be they know what they're eating because they're in great physical shape. But is there one fighter who's in better shape than the other?
I think they're both in incredible physical condition, but Bas Rutten is a very strong individual, exceptionally strong. In fact, I've heard stories that as they would travel on the trains after practice, he would do one-arm pull-ups on the handrails hanging from the ceiling.
Wow, very strong man.
And this being a King of Pancrase match, there's a lot on the line between the two of these, more than just records and reputations, but that King of Pancrase belt, which encases quite the large diamond in the center of it, worth over $100,000.
That's a lot of money, Josh.
That's a pretty
lot of
expensive
motivation. As this fight starts out, both fighters are feeling each other out just a little bit.
Suzuki certainly has to be aware of the very dangerous strikes from Rutten that could come in at any moment, either side, left or right, kicks or hands. Rutten, of course, not wanting to end up with this fight on the ground.
And right there, Suzuki managed to grab a hold of Rutten's leg and takes this fight to the ground. I think Suzuki, this is exactly where he wants the fight to be all night long.
Suzuki applying a can opener neck knock, pulling Rutten's chin to his chest as we head further on into the match here. Suzuki's still on top, working within the half guard on Rutten and applying pressure against the throat with the forearm.
And Suzuki now has the side control. And I guess situations like this is where Bas needs to remind himself to relax.
Exactly, and until the right moment presents itself to explode and escape, just like Rutten did. Now, seeing daylight, beautiful rolling knee bar attempt by Rutten, something that I'm sure Suzuki never even thought to have to defend against from the striker, Rutten. But as I've said before, Rutten constantly improving and spending a lot of time in Japan training at the Pancrase dojo.
And Suzuki, very quick reflexes. He might have been surprised at Bas's move, but it looks like he countered too.
Yeah, Suzuki knows where he's got to be. He knows what he's got to do to defend this technique, but Rutten very strong and in an incredibly good position right now. Was just moments away from perhaps finishing this match, and Suzuki finding his way out of that submission.
Suzuki now has the side control on Bas. I once read, Josh, that in high school, Suzuki, as we jump ahead in the fight, Suzuki was so afraid that the other kids would come beat him up that he'd beat them up first before they could even get to him. Does that sound like something he'd do?
Well, I could certainly see him taking that fear and translating into aggression, but I think as Suzuki progressed from pro wrestling and into the Pancrase ring, instead of worried about other folks trying to come and beat him up, he became the bully of the ring.
And this fight has gone on for a while, perhaps stamina coming into play as Suzuki going for the knee bar.
Nice knee bar attempt by Suzuki. Rutten wisely sensing the ropes, keeping himself in contention for this King of Pancrase match.
And Suzuki strikes first, getting Bas in the knee bar. And as he grabs the rope, he will be deducted 1 point, but he looks like he's in good enough shape to continue.
That's true, and this puts the fight back on the feet where Rutten wants to be anyways.
But Suzuki trying not to allow that. Although a nice little sprawl by Bas.
Suzuki going to the single, trying to turn the corner. Manages to get Bas onto his back, and now into the side control again, where Bas has spent a majority of time in this match on his back.
And we can see Bas has expended some energies. Those R's that he wrote on his hand before the fight, they're not there anymore.
No, certainly with all the time spent on the mat and the grappling between the two of them, and who knows how much energy he's expended at this moment, but he's not moving nearly as quick as he was earlier in the match.
Suzuki on top has Bas in the mount. Now, if you're Bas Rutten and you're down low, what do you do to get back on top?
He's really got to be aware of where his arms are at, and he's got to look for the positional shift by Suzuki. When he feels Suzuki's weight change from one direction to the next or go to change to a different position, that's going to be his opening to explode and try and get Suzuki off of him and maybe find that opening to get back to his feet.
And not enough action, or perhaps the fighter's too close to the ropes. The ref breaks it, and Bas Rutten has to be happy about that restart.
And now he's back on the feet. Another opportunity for him to maybe win this fight by knockout.
Suzuki, of course, not one of the easier guys to knock out, although Bas did do it once in a previous fight with his knees.
Yeah, it looks like Bas is loading up that right leg either for a right kick or a right knee, waiting for Suzuki to come in.
And he throws one right there, unsuccessful, and once again, Suzuki going for the takedown. And he gets it, but once again, both fighters near the rope, and Suzuki taps out to the guillotine, and Bas Rutten wins. Looks like Suzuki could have gone for the ropes, but elected not to, Josh.
Maybe just unaware of where he was in the ring, and just because Bas caught him so quickly and so tight, he couldn't really focus or think or to know where he was and that the ropes were that close.
And Bas very excited winning this King of Pancrase jump, showing the Rutten jump to all four corners. I think he could be a gymnast.
Well, the Dutch could certainly use some more gymnasts for their Olympic team.
Yeah, I think Holland is running low on gymnasts. Bas Rutten, 2008 in Beijing, maybe?
Maybe he could at least be a coach.
Hey. And there he is, posing with the trophy and belt. And Josh, I think you have a belt kind of similar to that.
I do. I can say I am privileged enough to have my name on that belt and on that trophy as well, with the likes of great fighters like Bas Rutten, Suzuki, and Shamrock, Funaki. The list can go on and on.
And I got a question for you. Where do you keep that belt?
Well,
are you allowed to tell us? I'm not going to take it, I promise.
Well, you know, I wish that we were able to keep the belt, but as expensive as that is, you know, I'd almost say that it's it goes beyond just being just a simple trophy or title or something like that. The King of Pancrase, in concerns to MMA and the history of our sport, is really sort of an heirloom, one of the legendary artifacts, I think, of mixed martial arts. So no, I don't get to keep it.
Oh, that's unfortunate. That's all right, and that does it for all the fights we have this week, but don't go away. We have our event highlight. And our event highlight comes from the Manabu Yamada versus Maurice Smith fight, a very one-sided bout, Josh.
Well, just low kicks, low kicks, low kicks. And here he is finishing with a combo with the hands, landing that right low kick, and chopping the legs out from under Yamada. Just cutting all the way deep into the bone. I'm sure the contusions ran all the way down, and that's going to take weeks to heal.
He's going to be sore for a while.
The guy's going to have a pimp walk.
Oh, yeah. But before we go, I did talk to Guy Mezger, who had some things to say about you, Josh. I've been teasing you all day about this, but are you ready to hear this?
All right, I'm sure it's not all good.
All right, and I'm paraphrasing here. Josh is an unsung hero of mixed martial arts. He's an unbelievably smart guy, a man of his convictions. He steps up and tells it like it is. It might have hurt his career, but I admire his ability to stick to things. He's truly a great entertainer and showman. Reactions to that, Josh?
I'm really proud and honored that Mezger was able to understand, you know, where I come from, and at the same time, it's guys like Mezger that were within Pancrase. You know, when I was watching these film and this footage, when I got into the sport around '96, I'd watched all of these fights, and they were huge inspirations to me. And watching that dynamic mat work and the striking and the incredible spirit and heart in the ring. Mezger is one of those names that's on that King of Pancrase title and that King of Pancrase, that cup. And the man is going to go down in the sport as one of the legendary fighters of mixed martial arts, and it means a lot to hear the kind words from someone like Guy.
All right, and that does it for this week's show. I'm Rob Wu.
Josh Barnett.
Same time, same place next week.